amount of calls that you actually listen to, because depending on what, as far as what meat is involved in the call, it may take you several calls, it may take you 2 calls, it may take you 3 calls, but to be honest, there's no amount of calls that you're going to say that it's going to dictate, is this something that appears in their calls consistently? And you won't know that until you listen to several different calls. Depending on what program they're in, the type of flow that program is having, it can go from anywhere from a quick 15 minutes to possibly an hour. It just depends on if it was a lay down donor, because typically what you want to find in their calls are things of like, okay, how do they handle taking a hard no, or I'm too busy, or a medical question. Are they going to still go through the requirements that are required for them to be successful in those calls? So there's not going to be a time limit per se on how long it's going to take for you to get that done. It's pretty much given on the program and how it's running. Because like, I want to see patterns, because of the fact that you can get a good amount of information from 2 or 3 calls, but is that consistent of what the CME does on a day-to-day basis? You know what I'm saying? You want to catch that at its rawest form, so that's what you're going to coach them on, is because once you get their pattern down, then you can say, okay, this is what I heard, this is the areas where you're tending to be struggling at, and these are the things that are going to help those areas be some of your strongest areas of your phone call, because you're only as strong as your weakest part of your call. Live calls are going to be the one that I use the majority of the time, because of the fact that it's just nature at its best on the phone. You get to see how they produce live. If I were to use a recorded call, it's going to be for bringing them in so they can hear how they sound, or if they use a rebuttal or say things in their calls that tend to have donors upset or tend to cause them to lose donors or lose appointments, those would be the reasons why I would use recorded calls. But other than that, I think live calls are the best way to gauge how a CME is doing on a day-to-day basis. That I'm able to go ahead and pull those recorded calls so that they can hear themselves do it, because a lot of the people in their minds, they say it's just like, you think you've done something, you role played it in your mind, and then when it came down to actually doing it, you didn't do it. You know what I mean? But other than that, usually the feedback's pretty good.